30 days, no sugar, full ketogenic diet. And I genuinely had no idea what I was walking into when I started this experiment. What happened over those 4 weeks completely changed the way I think about food, cravings, energy, and honestly, my entire relationship with what I put into my body. So let me take you through the whole thing, day by day, week by week, because some of what happened I did not see coming at all. Let me set the scene first. Before this experiment, I was the person who needed something sweet after every single meal. A piece of chocolate, a handful of gummies, a biscuit with my evening tea. It was automatic. I didn't even think about it. And my energy levels were all over the place. I'd crash hard around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I'd feel sluggish in the mornings, and I was constantly reaching for something to eat even when I wasn't really hungry. Sound familiar? I knew something needed to change, so I decided to go all in on keto and cut sugar completely for 30 days and document everything honestly. Day 1 through day 4 was rough. I'm not going to sugarcoat that, no pun intended. The ketogenic diet means you're dramatically cutting carbohydrates, typically down to around 50 grams or fewer per day, and eliminating added sugars entirely. Your body, which has been running on glucose for your entire life, suddenly doesn't have that fuel source anymore. And it does not quietly accept this change. I had headaches. I felt foggy. I was irritable in a way that was almost funny looking back, but was genuinely miserable in the moment. This is what people in the keto community call the keto flu, and it's a very real thing. Your body is essentially going through a withdrawal from its primary energy source while simultaneously trying to figure out how to burn fat instead. Here's where it gets interesting though. Around day 5 and 6, something started to shift. The headaches began to fade. I woke up one morning and the brain fog that had been sitting over me like a cloud was just gone. Gone. I felt clearer than I had in years. Not in a dramatic superhero kind of way, but in a quiet, everything just feels sharper kind of way. This is when your body starts producing ketones, which are molecules your liver creates from fat when carbohydrates aren't available. Your brain actually runs extremely efficiently on ketones, and for many people, the mental clarity that comes with this shift is one of the most surprising and compelling aspects of the whole experience. Week 2 is when the cravings hit hard. And I want to be real with you about this because a lot of people paint keto and sugar elimination as this clean, linear journey where you just feel better every single day. That's not how it went for me. Around day 10, I walked past a bakery and I genuinely stopped in my tracks. The smell hit me and my brain immediately started negotiating with me. Just one won't hurt. You've been so good. You deserve it. This is exactly the psychological warfare that processed sugar creates in your brain. Research on sugar consumption shows it activates the same reward pathways in the brain as other addictive substances, which explains why quitting feels so emotionally loaded, not just physically uncomfortable. But I didn't cave. And here's what I noticed after I walked away from that bakery. The craving peaked, and then it passed. Within about 20 minutes, I had completely forgotten about it. That experience taught me something crucial about cravings that I never understood before. They are not permanent states. They are waves, and if you can ride out the peak, they dissolve. Knowing that made the rest of the experiment significantly more manageable. By week 3, things were genuinely transforming. My energy had stabilized in a way I hadn't experienced since I was a teenager. No more afternoon crash. No more desperately needing caffeine to get through the day. I was waking up before my alarm, which, if you know me, is basically a miracle. My sleep quality had improved noticeably, and I was no longer lying awake at night with that restless, wired but tired feeling that used to plague me constantly. The connection between sugar consumption and disrupted sleep is real, and living without it made that connection undeniably obvious. I also need to talk about what I was actually eating, because keto is not just eating nothing. A typical day looked like eggs with avocado and some leafy greens in the morning, a large salad with salmon and olive oil at lunch, and then something like chicken thighs with roasted vegetables cooked in butter for dinner. Snacks were things like nuts, cheese, or a small amount of full-fat Greek yogurt. The fat content is high on keto, which feels counterintuitive after decades of being told fat is the enemy. But your body uses dietary fat as its primary fuel source once you've made the metabolic switch. The hunger patterns completely changed too. On a standard diet loaded with sugars and refined carbohydrates, hunger comes in urgent, almost frantic waves. You go from not hungry to desperately hungry in what feels like minutes. On keto, hunger becomes this much quieter, more patient signal. I could easily go 4 to 5 hours between meals without that panicky, must-eat-now feeling, which gave me a sense of control over food that I genuinely hadn't felt before. Week 4 felt like arriving somewhere. The mental clarity was consistent. The energy was steady. I had lost some weight, though that wasn't my primary goal, and the number on the scale felt almost secondary to how I actually felt in my body. My skin had cleared up noticeably, which I wasn't expecting at all. Inflammation is closely linked to sugar consumption, and cutting it out appears to have visible effects beyond just internal ones. But here's what I want to be honest about, because I think honesty is what actually helps people. Keto is not without its challenges as a long-term lifestyle. Social situations become complicated when you can't eat most of what's being served. Eating out requires constant vigilance and sometimes awkward conversations about ingredients. And there are foods I genuinely missed, not just because of sugar cravings, but because some carbohydrate-heavy foods carry real emotional and cultural meaning for me. What the 30 days taught me is that sugar has far more control over your physiology and psychology than most of us realize until we actually remove it. The average person consumes an enormous amount of added sugar without fully registering it because it's hidden in so many packaged foods, sauces, dressings, and drinks. Going keto forces you to read every single label, and suddenly you start seeing sugar everywhere you never expected to find it. The results by day 30 were concrete. Steadier energy throughout the day, improved sleep, better mental focus, clearer skin, reduced cravings, and a fundamentally different relationship with food, where I was choosing to eat based on hunger and nourishment rather than habit and craving cycles. Would I recommend this experiment to everyone? Honestly, not without doing your research first. Keto isn't appropriate for everyone, and if you have any underlying health conditions, you absolutely need to consult a doctor before dramatically changing your diet. But the act of eliminating added sugar, even without going full keto, is something I think almost anyone would benefit from trying, even for just 2 weeks. What this experiment gave me wasn't a perfect diet or a magic solution. It gave me awareness. And awareness is where every meaningful change actually begins. If you've been thinking about trying something like this and you want to know more about how I structured my meals or what supplements I used during the keto flu phase, let me know in the comments and I'll do a full follow-up video. And if you found this useful, hit that subscribe button because there's a lot more experiments like this one coming. See you in the next one.